Hello and welcome. Today's video will be going over the Alliance raid, which for season 62 will be arriving in 2 days from now. So, in this video, I want to go over kind of the basics on what the main things are to get in terms of relics, altars, and the new, or not really new, but new-ish uh, Rift equipment, which ones to prioritize. And then I also want to go over the teams itself, what accessories to go over. And then lastly, I'll be going over the teams themselves in terms of like which one to use if you're free to play, depending on the different levels that you're at or the boss's HP that you're at. This season's going to be a little bit harder because they are ramping up how much the HP is generated from the boss, so it'll be interesting to see how high the top teams get and also how high rank 100 Alliance team gets. So maybe next season I'll have to redo everything to kind of help better out what is going on with terms of Alliance raid. So first thing to start off the bat is I'm going to just go over the altar, because the altar is going to be the easiest thing to go over. In all my forms, it will always be 15 hero, 10 greed. And then with the bonus of the black golden ring, you get the +5 of the altar. And in that way, you're going to be getting 15 greed. So typically, this will be your setup for altar and at least one of your relics. Now, the greed ring used to not be optimal. And mask would be, or the mask of hallucination would be a better place for it. However, with the SREs, getting the additional items is kind of worth it now. And also having 2 or more tier 7s is also worth it as well, which is why now a lot of us are going to be using the greed ring. Before SREs, people were still using the black golden ring. However, you have needed, I think it was like 2 or 3 tier 7s to outbeat one tier 7 form. So you needed it a lot more with the golden ring to outbeat the mask build. You can probably hear my dog now. But now with the SREs and getting the additional items, the black golden ring is going to be well worth using it. So this is going to be your altar and at least one of your relics. So that's going to segue into now relics. So relics are very important, okay? And there's going to be, I will go over the 3 main relics, which is what you see on my board, which is going to be the Greed Ring, Fear Devour, and Perpetual Void. Okay? Those are going to be your 3 main ones. You can replace Greed Ring with the Mask of Hallucination. And there is one other build that you would use, which would include the Scroll of Teleportation. Okay, so those are kind of your main 4 builds that you would use. With Herald of Hero, you can also use a Ancient Staff of Magic. So those are going to be your main ones that I would recommend that you want to level up first, and also then form them into perfect relics. So perfect relics, what I'm talking about is how you have all max stats. So for spell power, it's 28 max, all on one line. There are builds that you can do that can do split. So I've got my Perpetual Void as a split, so 22 in each row, and all in the same column. And then getting deep into how many relics I have, right? Different situations may require spell power to be on one line and then attack speed on a different line, which is why now I have the Black Golden Ring as another line. So these would be considered kind of perfect relics. Over here on my alt, you'll see that they're not perfect, but they're close to-ish. So you don't absolutely need perfect relics to be able to do a lot of damage. However, if you get majority of the lines matching, that would be great. So for spell power, what you're looking for spell power is to power up your Lunaire. So a single line is always going to be best. But if you have a double line, then it helps out with when you form like an Ian build, or another hero that needs spell power, like Athena or such like that. But one single line is definitely better for your Lunaire. For attack speed, you really just want a single line for your carry. So in this case, the majority of the builds will be for Zhao. So if you don't have perfect relics, or if you have a situation like I have on my alt account right here, you do want Lunaire on like your highest ranking, and then your secondary stats on your second. And then same with your attack speed. You want your highest attack speed lot on your carry, and then you want just whoever except for Bardry and Looney on an attack speed slot. So those are going to be your main relics. I'm going to explain now kind of the relics. So you use Golden Ring, Black Golden Ring, for the additional 5 in the Greed Altar spot, and also for the extra shop refreshes. That's just going to help you get extra medals, and then that's also going to help with getting the extra items in creating your SREs, your Rift items. Next up is going to be Fear Devour. The reason why you want Fear Devour is because it increases the damage by 8% per second after the beginning of the battle, which is a max of 240, which I think it's the whole 30 seconds or 20 somewhat seconds. I'm not doing that math in my head. I did not do it beforehand. So that's why you want to use Fear Devour as kind of a staple, because it will increase your damage the later it goes. And then lastly, Perpetual Void will be a main one. So you use Perpetual Void because it grants 1 Void Essence stacks to all allies when a hero dies. So a hero like Elizabeth with her rock golems, these things, rock golems, those will count as a ally dying. Another Void Feeder, we call it, is going to be Ray. However, she's not really used anymore, so I wouldn't really recommend going into trying to level her up. But Ray would be one with her golems, or her minions. These count as your voids, as allies dying. So it grants 1 void stacks per ally death, so Elizabeth, and then each essence stacks increases the base attack and spell power by 30%, max 7 stacks. So 210%, right? By the time Elizabeth dies 3 times or twice, kind of deal. So that's why Perpetual Void and Fear Devour are your main 2 relics that you'd be using. I'll go quickly into Teleportation Scroll. So Teleportation Scroll is going to be used for a hero build, which I'll be showcasing as well within this, because hero is on the Season 62 list of bosses that will be here. Essentially what you're using the Teleportation Scroll only for the hero boss is to teleport 2 connects into the back line. So that way your 2 connects in the back line will be attacking the 2 outer minions or totems, and then your 2 in the front are attacking the front too. And then the I forgot one. Holy Relic of Blessing. This one's also only used for Herald of Hero. So it locks the hero in place and it grants 80% increased damage after 2 seconds. So after the Herald of Hero completes her stun and knocks you back, by the time you're ready to go, you have 80% increased damage. I think those were it from what I said. The Mask Hallucination, again, is going to be used if you're going to replace either Golden Ring or replace Perpetual Void, if you're not going to use either. So that's why a Mask Hallucination would be good. Because essentially what you'd want to mask is your highest tier 7 unit, which would be your Lunaire, so then it's actually you have 2 tier 7 Lunaires with all those items on it, which is why you would use the mask in that case. So those are going to be your main relics that you would want to get. And then lastly, sorry, is the Staff of Ancient Magic. I should write all this stuff down. But Staff of Ancient Magic is really just for the beginning stages of day 1, day 2, day 3 maybe, depending on what alliance you're in and what ranking you are, and maybe even day 10. For Herald of Hero with a Chung build. This will help clear out the minions when using Chung. So that's going to be your relics that you want to get. Again, you want to do attack speed one set, spell power next set. Just get single line for each one. And then maybe later on go for a double line and then the separate line. But that's really only if you're going to be going for like a top 5 or top 10 or top 20 kind of team. Or you want to specialize one team for a certain boss. That's when I'll get into like the whole split the spell powers into different columns and such. But generally all you really just want is attack speed on one line and spell power on one line. Okay, so that's going to be my relic review. Up next I'm going to be going over the Rift equipment. So Rift equipment is extremely important now in terms of raid. It can make or break a top ranked team. Now, if you're battling for just breaking rank 100, it's not going to be as important because your HP is not going to be as high. Your boss HP is not going to be so high that you need it to be able to clear the boss. So if you only have the like this rank, the rare Rift equipment level 15, that's good enough. Okay. But once you get into the top 50 plus, I'll say, kind of ranked team, you want to start going over for the special Rift equipment, so SREs. Okay, so the main things that you're going to want for an SRE is what you can see that I have on both accounts. So the very first one that I'd recommend getting is going to be your dual swords. So dual swords is going to be very important because it will be your split damage item. So your split damage item will, if you're going to be using Immaculacy, which I'll be getting into next, will be you want split damage for both Blood and Blacksmith, and then you want attack speed as your default. So like right here I've got 90% split damage to 2 targets upon dealing normal damage, and I've got 125% attack speed. Mind you, this is rank level 30. I have been trying to get it to rank 40, but I cannot pass rank 33. So that's going to be your dual swords, and I would recommend also Blood Altar first and Blacksmith Altar second, if you're going to just get one set. And then also I would recommend using gems to level those up as much as possible first. Okay, this will be your first one that you want to max out as much as you can. Leveling with gems maxes out at level 33. Your next, if you were to be free to play, you kind of want physical crit chance. So that way, every single hit that you do is going to be max 100% crit chance, or at least close to. And then remember, in this game, if you're only 90% crit chance, that might as well be 2% crit chance. And then lastly, for the Blacksmith Altar, I'm using the 100% damage on the 1st and 5th normal attacks, and then also just crit hit damage as well. You could change this depending on who you're using, so I was using Ian for this as a test. Ian doesn't need attack speed, but if you're going to be using a hero like Elaine or Zayun, then you use like attack speed. So that will be the first kind of Rift equipment that you're wanting to go into. Second is, I'm going to say, is or second and third, kind of just toss up on which one you want to do. But I'll go into my mask next. So the mask with either magic first or in hero, or hero and magic, it doesn't really matter. But it's going to be your menace set. I'll go into why menace is very important next as I go into accessories. But menace is going to be what makes your boss's defense go down to negative 250. So the higher your menace is, later on you get, the lower the boss's defense will be, which is why you want a pure menace item. So 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, extra 80 menace, let's say, rounding, is going to be super important once you get into the like top 50 ranks. Or even if you're level 26, like my alt is, 25, 30, 40, 50, plus 50, right? It's very important to get the, day reset, get the additional menace set. The last thing is going to be the dagger. So the dagger you want to use as a additional base stats. So this is why I use the dagger, because it uses both the sword and the staff, which gives you just more attack and spell power. And then you're going to want to use it for spell power, either all 3 spell power, or spell power, attack, like I have. Or if you're thinking attack, spell power, whatever kind of mode you want to, or change up you want to do, by all means go for it. But this item will be going on your Lunaire, which will just buff your carry so much more. So those are going to be your 3 main relics that you want to use. If you are super lucky and getting a 4th, I have this one as another spell power, just in case I don't get my dagger or additional sword. But a 4th one, if you are looking, would be your guard set. So guard would be a hero giant, either a lance or a shield, but it would be guard that you'd want for it, and that would be put on a Patros. Okay, so just recapping, dagger would be going on your main carry. Mask with menace would be going on your menace hero. Dagger with spell power and attack base stats would be going on your Lunaire. And then if you do have a menace set or a guard set, that would be going on your Patros. Either, I don't think guard was on here, no. Would be going on your Patros. And then lastly, it's a unique situation, but I'm building or going for SRE for a orb, which will be for Herald of Hero only. So this is where you're getting into your niche builds, but with Mage Blood. That's for the double cast and then crit chance. So that would be kind of your main SREs that you want to go for. Again, if you're low level, so just breaking rank 100 team, the normal rare rift equipment will be just fine at level rank 15. But if you're going to be getting into the top 50 or top 10, you really do need the special rift equipment. I do have a video on my channel about SRE guide that you can go ahead and search, and that gives a more breakdown on how to get each item. Okay. Next up, so I've gone over your relics, I've gone over your altars, and I've also gone, as my voice cracked, I've gone over your rift equipment. Next up is going to be the teams itself. So there's going to be a few things that that's going to make or break which teams you actually are going to use. Now, just to I don't know why these switched. Weird. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to actually go over is I'll go over the team generally itself, but the main things I'm going to be focusing on is your actually, let's just go over the teams themselves. So your main team is going to be a Lunaire, which will be there for buffing your main carry. Next up is going to be Bardry, which will be providing mana to your Lunaires. The key between these two heroes is you want them at the same attack speed, so that way they cast at the same time. If your Lunaire is auto-attacking 4 or 5 times in between casts, you're wasting a lot of additional power, which that itself will cost you either being able to do a double kill or a single kill or even a kill in general. So those are the two things that you want to have synced between the Lunaire and Bardry. Next up, which is a main one, is going to be your Patros. So Patros with Black Mane is actually useful at tier 2. So as long as you have tier 2 Black Mane, that's when you want to use Patros. If you don't have Patros Black Mane tier 2, you can skip it. It's not as important, or you can just not use Black Mane. Next up is going to be your Elizabeths. So Elizabeth is really unique because of her Void Feeder. If I know how to get to her skills. So her Void Feeder, if you're at the tier 5, gives you the 3 Spirit Stones, which means in 2/3 casts, you're going to be maxing out your Perpetual Void Feeder. So this is why Elizabeth is being used in this game, or in this for your teams, because she's going to be your Perpetual Void Feeder. Next up, and it's going to be a toss-up for essentially your legacy. It's going to be Soup tier. Main thing is Immaculacy is what you need on her. Tier 6 is when you'd actually start using, because it creates a clone creature, exposes the weakness of the target and the clone, and target and clone, and it increases their damage taken by 30% for 10 seconds. This tier 6 is what makes the split damage so much more important, because it makes it, or actually viable, because this is how you're actually going to be damaging the boss. If you do not have tier 6 Immaculacy, or do not use split damage, you just want to brute force your hero, and then you would be changing up Zoop for like a Cane or something. And then lastly, it's going to be your main carry hero. So in this season, with Blacksmith, you're either going to want to use Ian, or you're going to want to use Elaine. So Elaine or Ian are going to be your 2 for Blacksmith. You could also use Zhao, but if you're very low, rank 100 or lower, you kind of want to build one team for that. So either an Ian or a Elaine would be your top 2. For Herald of Magic, it's going to be Zhao that you're going to want to use. For Herald of Mage, it's Athena or Chung that you're going to want to use. So Chung is on the next page. Chung or Athena, depending on how high rank you get. And then lastly, for hero, if you're not using any split damage, it's going to be Kanak. So those are going to be your main carries that you're going to want to use. So going now kind of into the high level of what your teams would look like, let's go over now the accessories for each hero. So with Lunaire, you're going to want to use Sacrament. If you don't have Sacrament, then either a Apprentice Staff, probably Apprentice Staff is your best bet, or a Rusty Sword. And then you're going to want to get 3 Guard, so 3 Ocean, which is your guard set, because that gives you the final 30% final guard, so it increases your guard even more. And you want 3 Ocean, 2 Barbarian with a focus on guard. So example, on my main account, I've got 3 Ocean, 2 Barbarian, and I've got 140 guard. On my alt, I do have Sacrament first, 3 Ocean, 2 guard, and I'm at 123.5. Higher guards you can get increases the effect of Sacrament. Now if you don't have Sacrament, then just slap any kind of Barbarian or Ocean on there. Okay? And then you kind of want to focus on spell power and attack, but it doesn't really matter at that stage. So that's what you want to go for your Lunaires. Let's just go back. Next up is going to be, let's go Bardry. So Bardry is going to be tricky. So depending on what your boss is and your attack speed and all that fun stuff. But typically what we've been using now is 3 Suppression, which will be giving you the 100% initial MP, as well as 2 Wind for this plus 60% attack speed. Now, if you don't have suppression yet, just do 2 wind set. And then we've been using Training Sword for the additional attack speed. So that would be your Bardry. Oh, I should be going over you can A1 for Lunaire, and then A1 for Bardry. Up next will be your Patros. If I know how to click. So Patros, with Black Mane, it is Guard that creates a better effect. Amplifies effect by 1 per guard. So this is where you're going to want to have your highest guard set that you can. So I've got 3 Ocean, and then I actually have 2 totally different legacies that have a high guard. So I was able to get an S tier guard on Eternity set, so I'm actually using this, as well as I got a high 17.5 out of 18 for A rank Fear Ring. So this is why I'm using those 2. The main thing that you're using is just making sure that you have got 3 Ocean for that 30% final guard. And then over on my alts, it's the same thing. I have at least 3 Ocean, and then 1 Wind, which was able to get me an 18 out of 18 A set guard, so I'm using it, and I've got 104 guard, and on my main I've got 136.5 guard. Now again, it's only tier 2 that is useful. Tier 2, and then it goes up to tier 10 would be your next stage for Patros. Up next is going to be Elizabeth. So you can use Elizabeth as a central sword wearer, so that way it helps. If you're not using Immaculate Sea, it does help. Using central sword on Elizabeth would be ideal, because it reduces the boss's weakness. And the Elizabeth will be attacking the boss because she's melee, which is why you'd be using her for your Central Regional Greatsword for weakness. And then you just want a 5 set Fear, which I don't even have 5 set Fear on here. So let's just throw on a Fear, please. Do I not have? Oh, here we go. Sure. So 5 set Fear would be your ideal, because it's going to just increase the amount of menace that you get for her. So like on my main, I don't even think this is my highest, but I got 129, and on my alt I have, oh shoot, they didn't say 129. So menace is going to be a main stat that you're going to want to focus, because that's going to help you throughout everything. So at the start to the end of raid. And then I use Last Breath, or you can actually use Protector, it doesn't really matter. I don't think you'll be receiving the damage of max 25% HP, so it doesn't really matter. So yeah, you'll be fine. Doesn't really matter what strat you use. Next up I'm going to be going over is Zoop. So Zoop is going to be your Maculacy holder. If you need the extra range, use Overload. If you don't need the extra range, then you can just use the first one. Range will always kind of be better generally. So Maculacy again is suitable for rank 6 or higher. If you do not have a Maculacy, do not use Zoop. Okay, she doesn't do anything. And then the other thing is you want your highest guard set on her. So I've got 130 right now, which I could probably play around to get a little bit higher. But 130 on my main, and I got 112 on my alt, which I think I could play around with, because I've got a level 1 on here right now with the C tier. So I'll definitely play around with that before I start. You do want your highest fear set on Immaculacy though. So this is what's going to help clear the bosses a lot easier. It is also going to be helping clear Hero and Blacksmith together with the same team. So you won't have to change anything up for that. So that's going to be your Zoop. Now if you do not have Zoop with Immaculacy, no one on your team has it, I would recommend putting in Kane. Reason why I would recommend Kane is because of Escort. Escort. So upon defeating a target with Circle of Death, which is his ability, obtain tier 1 equipment with a 50% chance. And then you just put an adamant set on him, because then it helps generate MP, and it also just gives him a shield, so that way he can survive. It doesn't matter what ranking, what level, as long as you just get a set. Now, with this set, you essentially all you need for it is you only want to use this in round 1, round 2, round 7, and round 8. Those are the 4 rounds that you would only use a Cane. So either tier 1 for round 1 and round 2, or tier 3 in round 7 or round 8, because those rounds do not generate a medal. The last thing you'd want to do is you waste a medal leveling up a Cane. That would be a heartbreak. But getting the additional items for tier 1 can help you propel you to get a 4th SRE or 4th Rift item to be able to help clear out the bosses a little bit much easier. So that's why I would swap out Zoop with Kane if you don't have the Immaculacy set. Okay, and then your last hero is going to be your actual carries. So with your carries, a big buff is Endless Ferocity. So Endless Ferocity at tier 6 is going to be your useful stage. Okay, if you don't have Endless Ferocity at tier 6, then I would recommend using either a Giant Axe, because it gives you extra attack speed, and once the boss gets under 50% HP, you increase your damage as well. So those would be kind of the 2 that I would recommend. If you don't have Endless Ferocity, but you have, let's say, Lupus Bane. I don't have Lupus Bane. But if you have Lupus Bane instead, then use Eileen with Lupus Bane if you don't have Endless Ferocity. For Blacksmith, you can still use Giant Axe on Zhao, which will produce good results, but Elaine is also a good hero that you can use with it as well. I wouldn't use Hammer, because it's only 40% attack and then 20% damage dealt, and you don't get any attack speed. Attack speed is really useful in Raid because you only have a certain amount of time that you can actually attack. And then the last thing that I would say that you could use would be the Shadow Dagger. The reason why I would say use Shadow Daggers for if you are not using Immaculacy, you need the additional damage. So the crit chance and crit damage will be really helpful with this. So going over now just the accessories for your carries. You can see that I'm using Barbarian Set. So Barbarian Set will be your top set that you should use with this focus on special damage. The reason why I use Barbarian is because my special Rift items is already giving me 90% split damage, so I don't need an item that has split, and I don't need an accessory set that has split. But I do need an accessory set that deals 50% special damage to 3 targets upon dealing normal damage, and then also plus 120 final special damage. That's your big cause on why you're using Barbarian Set over a Wind Set. So I'll be loading a Wind Set right now just to show you the difference. So with Wind Set, you only get plus 75% special damage, and then you're only getting 20 special damage towards 2 targets. So that, for me, that 90% versus 2, or 75 versus 120, it's much better for me to use Barbarian Set. Now, if you don't have a good Barbarian Set and you don't have a good SRE for your split damage, using a Wind Set will be your next stage that you want to use. If only you are using Immaculacy. Oh, I already put her down. If you're using Immaculacy, right? So that your wind damage will help win with the special split, will help with the attack in the clone. Now, if you don't have Immaculacy and you don't have SREs, then your last stage that you would want to use is either a Moonlight set, which I actually have not tested what's better. Moonlight set, because it gives you your additional crit chance, and then also crit chance damage for every range you have. But mind you, you'll be a melee distance, so the range doesn't really matter. Or do I even have? I don't think I have it. Let's see if it's on my alt. Alright, there, Pupper. Do I have Elaine with it? No. Do I have Ian with it? The last thing you'd want is your actual crit. Sharpness. This would be your beginner set, because it gives you the additional 25% crit chance, and then you want to focus on crit chance and crit damage as an alt. So top end, it's going to be Barbarian set. If you don't have Barbarian set and you still have Immaculacy, use Wind set. And also, if you don't have an SRE with split damage, you can use Wind set. If you don't have Immaculacy, you don't have that at all, use a Sharpness set. Okay, so that's going to be your main stats that you're wanting to use for majority of your heroes. Now, I did say that there's a Connect build that I'll be showcasing in a bit. But with Connect, it's going to be unique because you're going to want to have the Covenant accessories, because it's the spell damage one. Right, so you want 5 set with increased spell, crit damage, 33% of max HP, plus 40% base MP recovery. Also gives you plus 50% crit chance as well, and also more spell power. So you do want a 5 set crit damage. Which, let's just load this one so I can show you. This is with no SREs. And then with Canuck, you can either use your Giant Axe, or you can use your Dagger. And that should get you up to your 100 crit chance. Okay, so those are going to be your main things that or main heroes. Okay, however, this build, or replace Zoop with Kane, these two builds are going to be your main things for your Herald of Mage, which will be for Herald of Mage. What you don't want split damage, actually. You are going to want to have that mixture of Moonlight for the additional... Alright, let's just load it up on here. You do want a little bit of mixture, or at least pure attacks, or pure sharpness. So with Herald of Mage, you don't want the hidden stat, which causes you to lose a lot of damage, but you can use the additional final attack, and also physical crit damage for every range. And then also Sharpness 3 is really useful as well. Or Sharpness 2 is 15%. So that's why you can use this for Herald of Magic. For Herald of Hero, you're going to want to use Athena. Actually, let's just showcase... I'm going to showcase a Herald of... Sorry. Rewind. This build that I'm showcasing right now, in terms of raid, it's going to be useful for Herald. It's going to be useful for Blacksmith and Hero if you have Immaculacy. It's also going to be very useful for Blood, Giant, Mage, all your other basic ones. Herald of Giant as well, if they are in your future seasons. Herald of... do I not have it here? There we go. Herald of Mage, this on my alt is all you need. So you need Lunaire with Sacrament at least. You need then Athena with Moonlight. I don't even have Moonlight. It's preset on here. Moonlight. Let's see if I have it on here. I don't think I do. I think I changed it. Yeah, I changed it. I did not come prepared. Athena with Dagger. Oh no, Athena with Endless Ferocity. And then with Moonlight. You want Mistral with your Grand Central Sword. And then you also want Mistral as a tier 7. Not masked, though. With your Fear set. Enrith is just attack speed. You want Bardry to cast, again, just to cast your mana. You want Looney to buff your Athena, and then Ash is only here to buff Nirath, so that way she can ramp up her skill amplification. So this would be a set for Herald of Hero. I do have a video of a Herald of Hero build on my video, starting from the forming to the end to actual attacking. And then your relics will be the Holy Relic, Mask, and then Greed Ring. Herald of I've got one here. Herald of Hero. Again, this is my main. So you want your Athena, Mistral, Enrith, Looney, Bardry, Ash. If you're looking for Herald of Magic, I'm using this build, which is Patros, Elizabeth, Zoop, Looney, Bardry, Zhao. And then again, I'm using the Magic, or the split. Moonlight and Sharpness. And then lastly, I'm going to be going over the hero build. So hero build would be Herald and Blacksmith. I would be using this set with the split damage with the Maculacy. And either I'll be using Zal, but you can use Ian or Elaine, because with Blacksmith, any hero that jumps, Blacksmith takes 200% damage increase, which is why Ian and Elizabeth are useful, because they both do jumps in between attacks if they have to reposition. Elaine just jumps automatically in the same spot, so she's going to be better suited, but Ian's also the OG character for Blacksmith. Now, for Hero. Hero's going to be your biggest issue if you don't have a Maculacy. So this is going to be the build. You want to replace Lunera with Sirang. You do not need Bardry. You need... who do you need? Sorry. Sirang, Patros, Aza-Q. Don't need Bardry because Sirang is just one hero that you're gonna want, or 4 actually. You don't need any Void Feeders because you don't have the space for it. So you want Kanak. Zoop you're not using because you're not doing split damage. This is a beginner's guide, or intermediate I'll say. So instead of Zoop you want Balder for the back to be able to apply your Central Sword. So Fear set on her or him. And then lastly, what do we want? I think I deleted my... What is the last build? I do have a video on this on my channel. Aza-Q, Marjorie, Kanak, Kane, I think it is. I don't think you need a 6. So this is where you're going to want to use, instead of Void, you want Teleport, and then you can use Mask for, instead of Greed Ring, but then a Fear and a Greed Ring. Again, all in one spot would be nice, and then buffing your Kanak, and then having your C-Ring as your next point. Kanak also, you want to make sure you're using a 2... Yeah, A2, because it does, you want it to generate. So, essentially, you want... I do have a video on my channel on this build, but this could be a hero build that you can use. Aza-Q you are using because you are doing the additional link, and then her thing is reduces their spell defense by 100 for 5 seconds. So If you get her at tier 7, it's 220 spell reduction. So your Kanaks are just going to be doing a lot more damage. And then your C rangs are going to... You want 4 Kanaks to attack each 4 pillar. And then you want a 4 Serangs to buff for the attack speed, which I believe it's going to be a 2 that you want Serang for. And then Baldur can hit all of the totems, which is why you'd use the Essential Sword for Baldur. And then Kane, again, is just going to be for farming items. So that's going to be your round 1, round 2, round 7, round 8 forms. So these are going to be my overall builds. I know I'm not really going into forming itself. I do have a lot of videos of myself forming on my channel, so feel free to join or watch my old ones. I will be forming most of my forms during the raid itself, so feel free to drop in around reset time, and I'll be more than happy to showcase my forms. If you have any questions as well, I'll be more than happy to help out with it. So thank you for kind of listening or watching my guide, I'll say, for Alliance around Season 62. And if you have any questions, feel free to comment. If you have any build suggestions that you think I overlooked or I'm not providing the best ones, feel free to comment down below. I'd be more than happy to adjust my thinking. This is also off the top of my head from what I know. I don't have anything written down, which I probably should have prepared, but this video is already almost an hour long, so I'm not going to go too deep into it. So that will be it for my video. I will see you guys during the Alliance raid, and good luck everybody. Bye for now.